Detective Yvonne McGuire, it's EVONNE-MCGUIRE.
Detective Charles Shipman, SHIPMAN.
Detective David Knutson, KNUTSON.
After a lengthy investigation involving multiple agencies and a lot of investigative work done by detectives with this department and with other support units such as the Texas Rangers, Mr. Marcelino Avelar-Rapalo was taken into custody and charged with burglary in relation to a series of nighttime bicycle burglaries here in Austin. He has since been charged with other burglaries and additional charges will follow. We do believe that the suspect is responsible for the majority of the 97 nighttime bicycle burglary thefts that have occurred within the city. Unfortunately, we were not able to recover many of the bicycles. We did recover 6 of the stolen bicycles, and the victims have been notified. We're available for any questions that you guys may have.
Can you take me through a timeline of when the investigation started, when these thefts started, and how it evolved?
It started
May 2013.
Yeah, May 2013, and it progressed from there. We had some crime analysts identify patterns. From that, we followed up on all of our leads based on all of those and connected burglaries that way.
The affidavit says that the final bicycle theft happened last week on Anita Street. And how did that piece of the puzzle, or I guess you would already know that this person may have been a potential suspect or person of interest?
We had identified him as a person of interest and were following up on all leads on that and ultimately connected him to that crime.
How large of a ring is this, or have you been able to figure out where those bikes went?
We're still following up on that aspect of it. We're in the initial phase of filing charges and following up with our investigation.
Will there be other individuals part of this ring possibly that will be charged?
Possibly. Again, it depends on the follow-up with our, it's an ongoing investigation at this point. We've just made the initial identification and charges on this subject, and our investigation will be continued from this point forward.
This individual, this person of interest, was he already in custody, or was he apprehended and arrested? Where?
He was apprehended and arrested.
Can you come up to the mic, sir? Can you take us through that scenario?
Well, we conducted some surveillance on him, had some evidence stuff that led us to, the crime that was committed. We were able to find the victim and find out where the burglary occurred. At that point, we made an arrest on him.
These aren't puppies that we're talking about, or even a mongoose. These are bikes that are significant, bikes that people would essentially, this is what you buy instead of a car.
Some of them cost as much as cars do. I mean, we have some bikes up to $12,000. It's the most expensive one we've dealt with, but they start from $1,000 and on up. This person would usually pass by the cheaper bikes. He's been in situations where he's been in garages or homes with other bikes, cheaper bikes, and he just goes after the good ones, just the expensive ones.
Any idea where these bikes end up? Where do they go? What's their ultimate destination?
We don't know yet. It's still ongoing. We're still working on that.
I'm sorry. I'm just amazed. Was it just luck of the draw, or were these people followed, or has he indicated that if he knew of potential value in those sheds?
There was some. He said there was some potential value as far as he said he had done some research, looked online at Craigslist on other similar bicycles, just researched online bicycles. Basically, he knew what he was looking for. He knew what a high-end bike looked like. He knew what the expensive ones were, basically. And there has been one instance we spoke to him about, and he said that he had seen one of the homeowners riding that bicycle. He's seen where they had went, and a couple months later, he went back and committed a burglary.
Okay. So there was a little bit of, I guess, would you call it targeting, or
casing, targeting? Yes, sir.
Any other questions?
What does this mean for? You have you guys said perhaps 100 property owners that are victims that have been affected by this? at least.
Yes, sir.
What does it mean to finally get this break in the case, or I guess kind of what took that 100+ instances? Talk them through it if you can, on the victim side, talking to the victims.
Well, it's a big relief for all of us, and we've been working really hard on this case. It's one of the main priority of our unit. You know, since I started working on it, when Yvonne was working on it, we've put a lot of man hours and a lot of effort into this case. We would have these burglaries happen. This person was pretty good at what they were doing. They would hit in the middle of the night. Most people were sleeping, so there wasn't a lot of witnesses. We would go out to the scenes of these burglaries. We would go out, knock on neighbors' doors. We would check the neighborhoods for surveillance. We were literally going door to door, knocking on all the neighbors' doors, like, hey, your neighbor was burglarized. Did you see anything, any suspicious vehicles? We passed out flyers, and we were trying everything we could to try to get this guy and get some leads on him. And it feels good. It feels good to finally get him and get him put behind bars.
Is that what makes property crime so difficult to solve? I know it's not one of our shining moments as far as our solve rate for property crime. Is that part of the factors? It's just because of the different versus a homicide or something where you have witnesses and other things.
You have witnesses in burglaries too, but this case right here was hard. Just mainly for the fact is the hours that he was conducting his crimes, and there's not a lot of people out on the street at that time. Not a lot of witnesses out there. That's what I think is what made it pretty hard.
Is this a relief for the community? I mean, what can you tell bicycle owners now that they're the bad guys taking off the
streets? This guy is, not to say that that there's not another one out there that's going to do the same thing. And it says ongoing investigation. As far as we know right now, it's just him. But we're still looking. We have a lot of evidence to look at still. There could be other people involved in this. We're not sure that he's just the only one who's doing this. So they're basically a lot of the cases we dealt with. There was, some of the bikes people didn't have their serial numbers for. They'd have the expensive bikes and the serial numbers weren't available. One thing I can tell the victims and cyclists is just record your serial numbers, take pictures of your bicycles. That really helped us tremendously when we were doing the searches. We were able to identify some of the other stolen bicycles just because they had pictures that they gave us of the bicycles with the certain components, and we were able to find them, and kind of compare them and go that way to recover them.
So you said 6 bicycles were recovered. What condition were they in, and are they being returned to their owners?
Let's see. 4 of the 6 have already been returned. They were still in good condition. We still, from one of our recent cases, we still have the bicycles. We're still processing, but those were returned to the victims. So all the victims that have had bicycles that we recovered have already been contacted, and they know about them.
Where's the market for these? Craigslist, or is it more of like a specialty vendor? Or?
The initial lead that we got on it did come from a Craigslist. It was a couple months after the burglary, and it was nowhere around here. It was down in the valley, in the McAllen area. So that's the only thing we were doing extensive searches, social media, Craigslist, searching these different websites and everything for bicycles, and these just so happened to turn up down in McAllen. I mean, it wasn't a normal thing. They didn't put them on their own. I think a lot of the bikes that were being moved out of Austin, they weren't being resold here locally.
Last question.
So this is a 2-year investigation. A lot of man hours went into this. And
yes, sir.
So it's a big break for your unit, yes?
It is.
All right. Thanks, y'all.
Thanks, gang.